Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Bleacher Report just posted something in regards to Joel Embiid. A quote essentially said, I just want to win a championship, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else. At this point, he just wants to win a championship, Philly. And we talked about this yesterday. As if right on cue, based on my content, and then a quote like this comes out 24 hours later. I said to you guys that I think Philadelphia is in risk of losing Joel Embiid, and if I'm Joel Embiid, I want out of there. I'd probably give him one more year, maybe, but I'm pretty much out. I'm done. The front office mistakes that they've made the entire time he's been there, some of the bad luck they've had, the Ben Simmons thing, how long that dragged out, basically ruined an entire season of his career. I think they've done a good job of keeping him healthy. So I think his development obviously went amazing. They developed him well, so you give them their credit. But everything else around that could have been better. I like the Tyrese Maxey draft pick. Certain things that they've done that you could point out and say, okay, that's good, Philly. But overall, I haven't been a fan of their moves at all throughout the course of my lifetime. And we talked a great deal about how they squandered away not one superstar's career, but possibly two if they have a chance with Joel's, because they did that with Allen Iverson's. So if you guys follow me close enough, you know how on par that quote is with what we've been talking about over the last couple of days. And now I'm not going to say I'm not surprised that he said this, because in a nutshell, it's not that big of a statement, really. When you look at it, he is saying he could do it in Philly. It's not like he's saying I'm ready to get the hell out of here. But I'm also even further not surprised, because it does feel like it's time for him to start considering what else is out there for himself. It does feel like this would be one of them years after winning the MVP that you look up and say, okay, our offseason ain't going the right way. Free agency just put together the whole field now, and our team ain't good enough again. And we still have a big piece talking about he wants to get the hell out of here, and no chance at us getting the best return for him based on where he want to go. It's a good time for me to start thinking about what else is out there for me. It's a good time to start thinking about that, because I know I have the leverage to go anywhere I want to go. Guy like Dame Lillard is on the move, so he can be my match in salary to get me the hell out of here right now. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that you look at and say, if I'm Joel Embiid and I'm ready to skedaddle, the timing right now might be the way to go. Might be the way to go. Now, where does he go? Anywhere he wants. Anywhere he wants. Because he's the reigning MVP. He's 7 foot tall, 300 pounds. And anywhere he goes is going to be a championship level contender. And I don't think there's too many teams in this league that don't want him. And his contract is on par with the MVP. He's been healthy for a couple seasons, so you're not looking at him as overly injury prone. Not since the beginning of his career. I look at that almost like I look at Steph Curry. He had horrible ankles to start his career and was injury prone for the first 5 years, and after that he's been basically one of the GOATs. Kind of like Joel. First 5 years, had to rest him. After that he ain't had no problems. Not really. Only in the playoffs with his stomach and stuff like that, but nothing structural that keep him from the floor. So, great investment for me if I'm somebody else. I can't think of a specific team that I would turn him away, but I'm sure there's a few. But like, he's pretty much able to go wherever he wants. And so that's what it comes down to. I don't think he's forcing himself out. I don't know if that's what he's looking at per se, but I'm telling you, if I'm in his shoes, it's about that time, man. We ain't got a lot of time to play at this level, at his size, with these different guys that are coming into the league, all of them big, unicorns, stuff like that. How much is he going to be able to say he's going to dominate from here on out? You know what I mean? You got to ask yourself, with the Wembanyama's coming in and all these dudes, Chet's coming in, it's like, yo, Giannis still here. Jokic just won. If I'm going to win a championship, I need to hurry up and get it done. And if they're having trouble trading James Harden because he wants to go to the Clippers and they don't have nothing but Marcus Morris to send back over here, then guess what this team is going to be next year? Not good enough. And so, does he have another year to waste on Philadelphia? Does he have another year to waste? Is he a big fan of Nick Nurse to that degree? From what I understand, he was a Doc Rivers fan. Is he happy that Doc's gone? I don't know. Was he even happy that they traded Ben Simmons for James Harden? I don't know. I'm sure he was happy to get Ben gone, but then in return to have James Harden, when you already know that Daryl Morey's been hired, and he and Daryl Morey have an interesting business relationship to where they're probably going to do things that better one another, but James Harden is already over the hill at this point, so it shouldn't be in the organization's best interest to be catering anything to James Harden. So it's like a lot of stuff about that situation where I'm looking at that if I'm Joel Embiid last year and I'm saying, I don't want to do this for another year. And now we're in this off season. It's like, that's my point of view. I don't know if that's his, but I don't want to waste any more time if I'm Joel Embiid. My relationship with Philly, I can't speak to that. From my perspective, I don't know how he feels about being there. Obviously, it seems like he would love being there. That's the only place he's been. The relationship is probably very solid between himself and that fan base. But even the fan base should know at this point that boy ain't doing as well as he should be doing in this league for being in your uniform. You know what I mean? Only a very, very delusional Philadelphia Sixer fan would say that the Sixers have done everything they should to keep Joel Embiid good every year, to make sure that he has a championship. Only a fool would say that. So that's where I'm at with that. I think most of the fans agree that even though they would love to keep Joel Embiid, they're probably best. Well, he's probably best somewhere else. They're definitely best with him, but he's probably best with another organization. And so that's really where I'm at with that, man. I don't know where he would go. Anywhere, obviously, but like specifically who's trying to make a move like that? Probably everybody. First team that comes to mind for me is Chicago for some reason. That would just want to do something like that. Chicago. They should want to do something like that. Move all salary at all possible to start over with Joel Embiid at the top of Chicago's list. Now, would he want to go to Chicago? The answer is no. Because they don't make better moves than Philly, obviously. You want to go somewhere that actually knows what the hell they're doing. Unfortunately, it ain't too many of them. Man. So I don't. That's the problem. You leave Philly. Do you find yourself in a better situation, or do you have yourself finding yourself in a lateral situation? Because most teams in this league aren't that much better in that way. That's the problem. You gonna go to the Knicks? Are they better? I don't know. Lateral. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. I think the Boston makes a lot of sense. I think anytime I think about trying to win a championship, I don't go too far away from there. Philly, Boston. So that's an easy hop, skip down the road. Granted, you join in one of the rivals, but I don't know. I think if you're Philly, if you're forced to trade Joel Embiid, you're definitely going to trade him to the Western Conference. You don't want to deal with him 4 times a year. So that's also a thing. But there's no trading him to the bowels of the league because he's going to turn that team into a contender. You can't. It's not like you're going to be like, all right, we send him to Washington. Well, Washington now has the MVP. Maybe you want to send him to, let's send him to, I don't know, some bowel of a team. Like, let's get him to Indy. Okay, Indy's great now. They have him. So he's going to sway the tide just like Shaquille did when he was traded. Like the championship goes with him if he lands in the right spot. So that's why all teams should probably be interested in getting Joel Embiid without any concerns at all about what happens after you get him there. Because at the end of the day, unlike Dame, this is a defensive centerpiece, an anchor who's going to help both sides of the floor. You know what I mean? And I say that with respect, but Dame's not going to play no defense like that. That's not what you're bringing him for. He still needs that piece. So I personally think Philly could fix all their problems if they trade for Dame. And to fix all their problems if they up the ante on Tyrese Maxey and don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn, because all you got to do is outbid the Heat, and the Heat aren't giving up much of anything. They only want to give up Tyler Hero. So if you're willing to give up Maxey and another asset, then boom, you probably have Dame. But I just feel like teams are afraid he's going to lock himself out. They don't want to have that kind of trouble. They're going through this with James. They went through that with Ben. I could see them saying $60 million in the last 2 years of that contract. I'm cool if I'm Philly in some cases too, depending on who's in that front office and what they're thinking. I could very easily make another trade and get an even better contract back and prepare that next to him rather than going out for Dame. And so There's a lot of stuff that Philly can do to improve their team. They do have an attractive trade piece right now in Tobias Harris, who's finally down to one more year. If it's expiring now, $35 million, that frees up a lot of cap space. Probably going to have to pay a lot of taxes on it, though, if you acquire it. That's the only problem. But somebody may want to bring in Tobias Harris, maybe get rid of a multi-year contract, like a Chris Paul or something like that. See, that Chris Paul contract, I don't know why Golden State even acquired that, man. The first thing I'm thinking about is who the hell would be willing to take it, and how can I move it for something that's better than it? That's why that situation over there is that's totally different. Joel Embiid probably, that might be one place he'd be thinking about going to as well, believe it or not, Golden State. But with the moves that they're making, I would tell him they're not going to, from where I'm sitting, they about to turn into Philly. The way they making moves, Mike Dunleavy and them. So it's like that's the problem. You're picking the best teams. It's kind of hard because things things are not as they seem in the NBA right now. Some of the places you want to go, you don't want to be there right now. That was what it was about 3 months ago. From where they're headed, from what they've been doing, you probably don't want to go to those teams. I tell you, the most attractive teams to me right now, like Utah and San Antonio, Detroit, based on what it is their asset class is, and their young talent, Orlando, all the teams with the young talent. San Antonio, if I didn't already say them, of course. Those are the teams that are most attractive to me if I'm a player. Depending on my position, I want to go to those teams, not some of the other teams that are most loaded with the bells and whistles of a nice locale and all that crap. Is not going to get you what you need if you're a basketball player trying to win a championship in some cases. So Boston's the sweet medium. You get the bigger name franchise, big city, and an opportunity at a lot of winning. And of course, my very own Los Angeles Lakers are a team players should want to come to, but we got our stars. They're here. They're locked up. They don't want to go nowhere, and you have a hard time getting the Lakers to move them for any reason at this point. So that's why I don't put the Lakers on the list. The Lakers are actually at the top of the list, to be honest with you, for all of these guys, because we do have the best infrastructure and the locale. We've done things right over the last year to where we should be the team that Joel want to come to, the team that Dame want to come to, the team that all these guys want to come to. It's just that because we are us doing things the right way, we don't want them. In theory, don't let me speak for the Lakers, but that's what I'm looking at in regards to staying careful so that you've become this good with all this flexibility. It's because you didn't do certain things that ultimately let that flexibility go. And that's exactly what bringing in one of those dudes would potentially be for us. So, they should want to be here, but should we want them? No. No, not if we got to let go of LeBron James or Anthony Davis to do it. That ain't going to make us what we want to be, which is all of these things encompassing with the flexibility and having been able to prove that we could do it around LeBron James, which is the point. So if we move LeBron James, then it's not the same motivation to keep us as flexible. He, in my opinion, is keeping our team in check in regards to prioritizing flexibility at this point, which is ironic because one could argue he's the reason why flexibility had been discarded in other situations, including this one. But as of right now, I do believe that we want to build around Bron. And so, inexplicably, and that's good. That is what all teams should be doing with all their stars. And if Philly was doing that with Joel, they would not be having him saying stuff like this right here. Another interesting place for Joel is Toronto. Jakob Poeltl in the center position they got. The fact they want to move OG Anunoby. The fact that they probably wouldn't mind moving probably another piece as well. OG Pascal. That's a nice little return for Joel Embiid. It is. And then to pair up Joel Embiid with Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes. It's a nice team. Nice team. I don't know if that's a good enough return if you're Philly, but you got two All-Stars coming back. Pascal's a 7-footer, so it's like, you know what I mean? You replace Joel Embiid's MVP status with two All-Stars that should continue to play at a high level on both sides of the floor. You remain a contender, Tyrese Maxey. All these different things are in place for Philadelphia to ultimately be all right. I don't know if you're as good as having Joel, but you don't fall off a cliff. It's a good return. So I don't know what they want to do, but if I'm Joel Embiid, Maybe I move on to Toronto. Maybe that's not the worst place in the world for me. I don't know, but obviously people gonna look at Miami. You know, Bam Adebayo swap for Joel. I don't do that if I'm Philly. I don't value Bam like that. I really don't. He's a nice defensive player, but I just don't. I don't value what he does as much as maybe a lot of others do, and so wouldn't think of that as the best trade for me. For Joel, no, I'm not doing that. Joel Embiid for Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo. I'm not doing that. So no, none of that looks good to me. Just brainstorming, but I think, like I said, Joel Embiid's gonna have his pick of the litter. He can go anywhere, man. Golden State, uh, you know, teams should be willing to give up all-star centers to get him too. A team like the Pacers would be willing to swing. They got all kinds of trade equity too. That's another thing. Like, you mess around and ask for a trade demand right now, the team that's gonna give you the best return is a team like Indy, Utah, San Antonio. Those are the teams that got the most to give. Houston's an interesting one for Joel. Houston's always been interesting, in my opinion, for Joel because they have the Yao Ming, Keem Olajuwon, Ralph Sampson history there. You can just totally see him slipping in as yet another Rocket center that'll go up in the rafters. And they got plenty of people to trade, and they will still have a championship-level team that's getting better around him as they grow. That's probably the best spot for him, and probably in the whole league. Obviously, they got Alperen Sengun, so I'm not so sure that's the best situation. If you're Houston and you love Sengun, I for one think Sengun's upside is crazy, but I don't know if he's Joel Embiid. I don't know if I put him up there with. Nah, I don't think so. So I'm upgrading, and I'm still keeping, like I said, ton of young talent. I'm still keeping a lot of what I like. I still probably got Cam Whitmore. I still probably got Terry Eason. You know what I mean? I probably still got a couple of those guards. One of those guards, Amen Thompson's probably still here. I ain't trading Amen. So it's like they have so much they can trade in a Joel Embiid trade and still have so much to play with for Joel Embiid when he gets there. So yeah, if I'm Joel, I'm looking at Houston. I'm looking at Houston. Sorry Sengun, and sorry Houston, because I know y'all love Sengun, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take his spot if I'm Joel. Play with Cam Whitmore and whatever else they can retain, and then that gives Philadelphia a fantastic return. They get a handful of those young players. They got a whole future. Bring back Porter Jr. Bring back, I don't know, some of the names I already mentioned that probably would be on the move, like Terry Eason or something like that. Cam Whitmore. Bring back just about 4 of them, and some picks. And maybe, like, he probably has to take back one of the contracts. I don't know, Dylan Brooks, some crap like that. Just bring it back. And that would get you all that you would need to replace Joel Embiid and give yourself the future that you ultimately wanted with your process. A bunch of lottery picks that have high upside. So that's a good spot there for Joel, Houston. You know, I think the same thing about Orlando to a degree. The Dwight Howard Shaq thing. I don't know if that's as appealing to him as maybe Houston would be. I probably look at Houston as a bit more of a winning situation for myself. If I'm from Joel, if I'm just weighing the two, probably don't have Orlando on the list at all. Definitely not. But I'm saying for a team that Philly would want to do a deal with, give me back Franz Wagner, give me back Wendell Carter, bring me back Anthony, bring me back Suggs, bring me back Harris, and all of the stuff that I can take back. And I'll send you Joel Embiid. You can put Joel Embiid next to Paolo Banchero and next to AB, and y'all be a contender as well, right out the gate. So it's a lot of different things. Like, if players want to open their minds to where they actually fit instead of where they're going to be most happy living and putting their mansion, I guarantee you they're going to have a good path in this league. You just got to be willing to live in some places that maybe you'd rather not. And, you know, I know if you got the type of money these guys got, you can build a phenomenal house anywhere. You can build the best home possible for yourself wherever the hell you want to put it. So that's what I tell these guys. Just, you're only gonna be there for a couple of years. You know what I mean? That's it. Don't act like you got to be there for the rest of your life. Just finish out your career on a high note so you can get the most for yourself. Instead of going somewhere like Miami where you're going to learn to hate Miami because you're going to be losing there when you get there. This is what it is. So that's what I gotta say, man. If guys are real competitors, man, and you want to get out of a bad situation, make sure you choose a good one. Don't choose a lateral one. And for a guy like Joel Embiid, I mean, it's just like anything else, man. You gotta push your weight around. As soon as they gave the keys to Daryl Morey and started talking about bringing in James Harden, that would have been my cue to get the hell out of there. That's the bottom line. That would have been the end for me. Like, y'all serious? Y'all gonna really do this? You're gonna bring James Harden Wash to me, bring his old GM to me, and tell them to run the show around me? Hell nah. And only for it to go left when it goes exactly the way we thought it was gonna go. Exactly the way we thought it was gonna go. They fell short. They didn't want to pay James Harden despite him taking that pay cut. I mean, that was so predictable, man. Of course you wasn't gonna want to pay him over $35 million this year. It wasn't nothing James Harden did in Brooklyn that made you think that he was going to be worth more than $35 million in 2023, man. So the fact that he took that pay cut, I thought was stupid. He shouldn't have did that. And then to think that they were going to honor it the next year was even more stupid, because that's too much of the cap to give to him. If they think they want to be good, and they still got, Joel to consider. So it's like all of that was just so stupid and misguided and bad from the jump. And now that it's went left, I think everybody there should be considering where the future holds for them outside of Philadelphia. Everybody there. Just about. Because that went completely left and it was bad from the jump. So that's what I got to say about that. I don't have a whole lot of faith in their organization. And the sad thing is, because they just spent so much time with their rebuild, I'm not excited about them rebuilding again. I don't want to rebuild. You know, not when we just went through the process and it didn't even get us to the finals. Hell no, I'm not gonna do that I'm not doing that to the fan base. So we gotta keep, we're gonna keep winning. If I'm running Philly, I don't think a full-fledged rebuild is what's best unless we're getting a hell of a return for the stuff that's valuable right now. Like a hell of a return. There had to be a ridiculously great return for Joel Embiid. There had to be a ridiculously great return for Tobias. I gotta really feel like I'm getting back everything I need to reset in a very, very high level. And at this point, with Joel looking like he's probably going to force his way out if he does leave, you're not getting the best return there. So it's like, I think the solution is new management. You need whoever's been making all these decisions, Daryl Morey, thank you, out. We need new management. If I'm Philly, we ain't doing this. When Joel starts talking about, I want to win a championship here or anywhere else, as in all teams I would be willing to go to, which is what that implied. That means that anywhere but here is also implied if things continue to get worse. And if that's how bad he feels about being here, then whoever's here that's making here needs to go. So here can be like another place. That's what Philly needs. So I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm going to try to get somebody's great GM up off of them. That's all I got to say. Masai Ujiri, whoever it is, I'm getting somebody. We bringing them to Philly. We're not doing this. I know that's what they did with Daryl Morey, but it got to be somebody else. It just got to be somebody else. And to a point, Daryl Morey, I just never really understood some of the moves he made. I understand that he's considered a great GM, but the reality is the moves that he's made haven't been great at all. And throughout the course of his career, I have yet to see a championship accredited to him. So that's where I'm at with him. I've lost my faith in Morey. The moves that he made here with the Philadelphia team have been not good, and the stuff that he did in Houston I thought was also bad, and it ended bad. So he did big moves: get Chris Paul, get Russell Westbrook, bring Harden to Philly. These are big moves, but they're bad moves. And none of them are they're not winning moves. So that's where I'm at with Daryl Morey, man. Just like Doc Rivers, of whom they just fired, I think it's probably time to move on from him too. Doc Rivers, somebody who was living off of success from previous situations in Boston, hadn't really done much anything since. Kind of what it is that Philly tends to fall for, it seems. They're falling for that. Stop falling for that. So that's what I got to say to the Philadelphia 76er organization. Their owner needs to shift his focus a little bit to something else in regards to building this team forward. If he doesn't want to lose Joel Embiid, he's got to do some things differently. Tobias got to be turned into a bunch of pieces. I don't mind the Bamba signing. I don't even mind bringing back Paul Reed. I really like those players. Um, but you got to make more sense of what you got going on there, man. Montrezl Harrell at this stage in his career, what is he giving you in that role? He's a spark plug and an aging one at that. I don't know that he has anything to give you when you got 4 and 5 centers ahead of him. It doesn't make any sense. The spacing don't make no sense. None of it makes any sense. And that's another reason why Joel Embiid probably should be looking at other situations right now. So they got a bunch of centers to back him up. They have no faith in him staying healthy. Cool. But what else is on the team to make them good enough? You can only play, one center at a time. Dudes ain't going to be on the floor with him, so what else? Is Tyrese Maxey going to have a full season? If he steps out and is an all-star, showing us who he was like 3 years ago, if he returns to that level, now you feel real good because he could turn into an all-star. 30 points, 8 assists. That's great numbers for Maxey. Can he do that again this year? Is that where we're headed? If so, cool. If not, maybe I need to kind of open up the doors to trading him. If he's not going to be the piece that's going to get us over the hump, and everything is relying upon us getting there soon enough so that Joel doesn't want out, maybe I need to start moving some things around that will ultimately get us good enough quickly. I don't know what it is. Maybe you need to make a trade for a guy like Jaylen Brown. Maybe that's the move for Philadelphia. Maybe you need a new star in place next to Joel that he can look at and say, okay, that's my guy. Now I got a running mate up in here. Like he did when he had Jimmy Butler. Because right now, James Harden didn't inspire that type of confidence. Let's just be honest. He didn't believe in James Harden from the jump. And he let all of us know in the way that he was speaking about James Harden as a player that he wasn't all on board with it. He was just as skeptical as I was. Hey, we're going to see what he has. And if he gives us what we have, we'll be good enough. That was the kind of way he was talking at the beginning of last season about James Harden. While they were talking about 35 this year, James, and then we'll hike you up. And he's sitting there watching like, yeah, but he washed, though. He washed. And so it's like, man, look, all of this stuff is misguided. It's completely misguided. And if I'm Joel Embiid, just get me out of here, man. Send me somewhere where people do things correctly. That's all I want. Send me somewhere where I can win a championship and not have to worry about who the team is going to be signing and how that's going to log jam us in a situation we ain't no damn good for the next 3 years. Because that's all he can look forward to if Philly continues doing the things they've been doing. What type of return can you get for James Harden? Why does James Harden have so much leverage that he can tie up a trade for himself on a discounted contract when we know he's probably not even worth that at this point? The 35 that he's paid is probably like the maximum amount of production that you expect to get from James Harden this year. Why is that not a contract that you have the leverage to move where you want it to? That's what I don't understand. This man has demanded his way out of every situation he's been in for the last 6 years. Why in the hell does he have the leverage to do this again, to force his way to the Clippers, when we know damn well the Clippers don't have anything? This ain't Dame. This ain't his first time doing this. So he's likely to do this again when he gets to the Clippers. So why are they so gung-ho about bringing him there? All of these things people don't have answers for because they're not prone to doing things the right way in the first damn place. And that is why I exist. Because I'm going to help people understand what it is I see, for which people are afraid to say, because they're probably afraid not to say it. I am not. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Good luck to Joel Embiid. Good luck to the Philly fans. Good luck to all of you guys. I appreciate you for watching BDL 44, and I'm out.